So I interviewed for the position and was named as City Engineer Director of Public Works. And again, this was in 1969. So I was at my desk, and three pastors came into the office. My secretary was right outside the door, and so I heard them say they were Lutheran, and they were looking for starting a mission church. So I said, "Come on in, I'll talk to you." So I talked to them, and after that, I was involved with the mission church, and they formed a task force, and I was member and a couple other one other committee, and so eventually they moved forward, and the missions actually bought the property. I didn't even know about that, and they called a minister, Al Laro, and started a fund for building a church. So anyway, I was nominated as the first president. That was for 2 terms I served. And the first thing we needed to do was to have a building committee. So I was chairman of the building committee, and we had 2 things that the building committee really wanted to do, which was not the cookie cutter mission church. Number 1, we wanted to have a sanctuary first, instead of the typical all-purpose building room, and then with the sanctuary, we could then have classes for Sunday school, but they weren't as good as an all-purpose was. So they had actually hired a architect, Ames Torkelson, out of Madison, and so he came over and he worked up some sketches, and by that time the Pastor Laro, who was called by the mission, decided he wanted house of prayer as the name of our church. So that's how kind of the 5-sided church came about, was the 5 fingers as that. And so we went out for bid and built the church. We had met, and again, this was 1969. In 1970, we got the bottom floor of the city hall. It was an emergency operating center that was only used really for emergencies. And we were able to use that for a church. So we used that for almost a year while the church was being built to worship.
Do you remember how much it cost when the original church was built?
I don't know for sure, but I think it was $125,000.
Okay.
Where like my house was like $30,000. So in those days,
Yeah.
that's still a lot of money.
Right.
And we were very fortunate that a church in Racine agreed to sign our mortgage, because as a starting church, you really don't have any clout. So they signed our mortgage.
Sure. Do you remember what the community was like in the area prior to the church?
Well, it was all cornfield. We had a neighborhood planning process. One of the reasons I came, and neighborhood planning is you lay the whole city out, and city of 34 and a half square miles, you kind of lay out it as it was a subdivision. So all the pieces, when this little parcel was developed and the other little parcel, they came together. It's just like putting a puzzle together. But you had a plan, and we had a plan. It was called the Southwood East neighborhood.
What changes have you noticed in the community since the church began?
Well, the congregation was very young at that time, and even though we built the sanctuary, we had lots of kids, and I think as the church has matured now, we have a lot less children in the church. But we seem to have a faithful, strong congregation that even when things not go real right, they come through for us.
Do you have any other thoughts or ideas that could help us with our church's future or capital campaign?
Well, no, I'm glad you're planning ahead, and I'm glad you're putting money aside, because it's kind of easy just to do the budget and not think about, hey, some things are going to be needed to be done in the future. So I'm real pleased that the council is looking to have some money available when roofs go bad, parking lots go bad, storms hit, or whatever. So I think I think that's really good.
Any advice for future generations?
Keep going.